Francistown, or ghetto as the young people call it. However, the elderly call it the city of all things precious. It depends how you want to call it, Francistown. But the area during pre-colonial Botswana was not usually called Francistown, it was called Nyangagwe. However, the name Tati Concession or Tati District was widely used among the Europeans. Tati Concession because this whole area was under the Matebele king Mzilikazi and subsequently his son Lebengula, who granted mining rights to this place. Now, in the early 1886, we see a man called Hadley, who was a hunter. While he was wandering across the concession, he came across something that resembled a gold-bearing quartz. And so he took the quartz and took it to a German geologist called Karl Marx. And it was confirmed that indeed this is gold. So Karl Marx took the gold to Kimberley in South Africa. And we see now with the years that followed in the early 1880s, when European prospectors now flocked into Francistown to start mining the gold. This is what we call the Southern Africa's first gold rush. So among those were the New Zealand Bailey's team from New Zealand and a man called Daniel Francis, who the city is named after. So in 1870, we see a man called Sir John Swinburne started mining in the area. Unfortunately, he ran out of funds and he moved out he went back to England to source funds to continue mining. And then there comes a man called Daniel Francis and his team from the Kimberley goldfields, and he started mining here. But first he went to Lebengula, who was the king at that time, who was responsible for the care of the concession. It is said that when he approached Lebengula, he went with him offering gifts, and one of the gifts was a smoking pipe. And Lebengula granted the permission for this for Francis to start mining. And then we see that's how mining started. Francistown's economy boomed because of mining. The gold mines, we have Monarch Mine, which was one of the deepest gold mines in the area, and we have other mines around the area, but unfortunately now the mining has stopped because the rock is too hard for the machinery to penetrate. And again, the low-lying water table makes it difficult for the mining to continue. So with that being said, this is our city. This is Francistown, the city of all things precious. As you can see here, much development. We call it the spaghetti. This is the flyover that was recently constructed by the government. And behind us here we have the High Court. So there's much development happening in our city. Francistown, ghetto, the city of all things precious, the gateway to the north. I'm joined here by three gentlemen, Mr. Peter Matante and Mr. Bule Senatle and Mr. Molefe Dima. Gentlemen, you are welcome. The three of these gentlemen are native to Francistown, and today they are going to tell us about stories of how they grew up in Francistown and events that unfolded before their eyes. Taki simule laka wena Mr. Dima. Wena how kola mo Francistown Francistown na nzija.
Tota Francistown the way unontsika te hanna ke gola. Ine santse le matodi a dikago. Ka re batho ba ne ba se ba kalokalo. Jaanong tota ditlhabologo tse di tla ko morago. Toropo e yone tota ko ntle ga maka ko e tswang teng ko morago bakalaka ke bone ba ileng gore ba bantsi mo go yone e be go nna le barolo mo go yone le masezuru ba ba aparang mesese e mesweu go tswa ko ke tswang teng e ne le one merafe e ka reng e ne le ko pele go gaisa merafe e mengwe mo toropong Bakalaka Barolong le Masezuru e so re ba bang ga ba nya ba le teng mme ba le teng ka palo tse di ko tlase gompieno ke gone yanong go ileng go godimo ka gore batho ba bantsi ba tsile botlhe kwano ka tsa mmereko ka tsa go reng ba kgatlhega go aga mo Francistown re ke eme lo mongwe a tsene re tla nna re ntse re a bobedi
nna ke tlile mo batsadi ba ka ne le batshabi ba tswa ko Afrika Borwa mme e ne le matitšhara ka bontsi bana ba le mo ba tswa ko Afrika Borwa ke bana ba protest against introduction ya Bantu education ko South Africa so ba bona ra bontsi ba bona ba hudugela mo Botswana bana ba le bantsi thata mo Francistown le kgaolo ya North East nna ke tlile le bona ke santse ke le kawana
ntate Senatle gongwe o ka re bolelela during ya ka o bua gore batsadi they were coming in from South Africa. Can you at least narrate to us the stories of the bombings that were happening in Francistown?
The bombings ke utlwile modumo wa teng mo ntsi thata because ne ke le very close to ko bomba ene thunya teng ne ke le mo Jubilee Hospital.
So Rematante, I understand you are the son to the late, or I should say the great Mr. Philip G. Matante. Pongo kare bolela la ka ne le tsela ka teng ene le ntate o ntse yang ko lapeng in the political spheres.
Ai ho thata o di khaoganya ke gore mo lapeng no go tlala nna ke gola go no go nna go na le batho fela ba bantsi different nationalities bo Mugabe o ntse ko lapeng le Sele Mugabe Samora Machel before a hudugela ko Lobatse o ntse ko lapeng ene gore a hudugela ko Lobatse was because una kidnapiwa ke Rhodesia maswala Rhodesia so gora gore bogolo wa go negotiatiwa gore a busiwa ba busiwa so baba wana gore no he's not safe here ke gore a isiwe kgakala le the border ke ha tla kopela ko Lobatse go no go tlala thata ko lapeng as motso wa a politician I guess ine le batho ba party ba BPP every morning ne ba tsogela ko lapeng go nna go tetse go na ne le ba batla dithuso like bo ba batla apply citizenship or like maburu a na tshwenya ba bangwe ba tla ka di grievance tsa gore ba tsewe sentle ko tirong maburu a ba reng le rona tota ne le gore ga ine se gore re tshela sentle like I remember one time that Donasio naile I think when I Ghana or somewhere bogonna le a demonstration ya basadi ba BPP demobilized basadi mo Francistown ne ba sa letlele go apa bojalwa so gora gore me le ba bangwe basadi made a demonstration gore no bone ba go apa bojalwa ka dikgoka ka gore ke bone bo botsenyang bana ba bone square and I think for that week ne re sa roba le mo lapeng e le gore bo Steenkamp he was in
district commissioner
ba tsamaya le mapodisi mo ba batlamme from house to house ne re hitliwa go re tsatsi le roba tswa mo ntlung e tsatsi le latelang roba tswa ko ntlung e sele go itlhela ntate a ba boa ke gona ba lata Steenkamp e be e hela khanya teng a ne le dintsi dio tsene di ragala I guess
a safe haven for a lot of people, even those who are outside the political circles.
In Ramadan, he was a parent, not only to Banawaka. I remember I kids in a school ko Havaruni, ko GSS, Habanali, session parliament on. The Banamatunga, opposite Princess Marina, the deflected city had it. Netlere Chaco Stadium ke tshone ke sna la sepe. I didn't hesitate to go when like ke kupa madia film ke kupa pocket money, and she always gave it to me.
So the plane crash that happened, I think it's 1974.
Yes.
What happened? Did you guys witness that?
Let me take that one.
Okay.
That's one. I was 19 years old. Janu lebala lila la wenela. La across the river hat murentsing thing across the river. Kore ha plane tsele di emela di feta mo di mo ga Blue Town. Janu ntlo ya ga batsadi ba me mo ne le teng. This big plane it's feta mo e leng gore a kry emela mo lebaleng. Ha e totsa mo ntlong ya rona, it's not yet high. Plane tse hadi feta mo la le robetse le tla tsoga because ke plane tse di tona. Jaanong ka 1974 ka April kgwedi ya bo 4 date e le 4. Now plane ye emela mole ke DC4, a 4-engine thing.
DC4.
Yes. Jaanong ha emela mole something happened. Ebe le gore tota go apala gore ka tsamaya, then the pilot ona khona gore a leke go to maneuver it gore ebe bue one where there is the stadium gompieno, the new stadium. If gore paletso gore ka ya ko ona le ka ya ko airport, back to the airport mara ipaletso mo ka ha phatlakana gona mo ebe go swa 84 wa bona re 4 ya no ntse a tsena. 84 now.
84 people.
Yes.
Lost their lives.
Right. Pure ke the crew ya plane le bone batho ba bane ba tsamaiswa hore ba ko magabone.
Okay.
Right.
Were there Botswana in that plane, or it was mainly these our African brothers?
No, are Botswana ba ne ba le di. Yes.
How many were Botswana in the plane?
Uganda there were Akisaki. Uganda there were 3 or 4.
Okay. Yeah, gentlemen, I think Rachel I'm very grateful to have you guys here, and for your time, your contribution as well. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
I'm joined here today by 2 gentlemen and 2 ladies. To my right, we have Mr. Tebogo Sibuso, Tourism Development Manager at BTO, and Mrs. Matlori Soroko, who's Principal Curator at National Museum, and Ms. Saune Bikitsani, who's tour guide, actress, and TV personality, and Mr. Umpilo Kotla, who is a lecturer at Botswana Accountancy College. So the topic that we are going to be discussing today is commercializing our heritage sites to benefit our communities. So heritage sites, we are going to be looking at the greater Francistown area. So maybe just to start with you, Mrs. Soroko, tell us about the programs that government are putting in place to develop these heritage sites.
The National Museum is the department which is responsible for the conservation and management of heritage sites. And we are basically today going to be looking at Greater Francistown area. Greater Francistown area covers the Northeast District, part of the Donota sub-district, and also includes the Francistown city. We have a number of heritage sites which we have chosen to be the ones which we will give the tourists a chance to come and appreciate when they come to this area. And in the Francistown, in the greater Francistown area, we have more than 31 sites which we have chosen for the tourists. We have about 4 trails. We have what we call the Francistown City Trail, which covers the sites which are in Francistown. We have the Tati Trail. These are the area, this covers the area which is part of the northeast. We also have the Domboshaba Trail. It's part of the northeast, but it covers mostly the stone walling area in that part. And then we have the Nswazi Trail. This is the area also which covers a number of sites which are related to the history in the northeast. In the museum, as a department which is responsible for the management of sites, we have come up with strategies that will ensure that the tourists, when they come here, they enjoy what we have in this part of the country.
I've worked with quite a few number of community trusts, not only within the northeast, but also in places like Musu and Matsumu. And the impact that you guys are doing as the National Museum, it's in encouraging these people to form trust is really profound, and we applaud you guys for that. And speaking of the issue of marketing, I think Mr. Sibuso, you touched on that. USBTO, what programs are you putting in place, or what are you doing to make sure that you market these sites or tourism at large in Botswana?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Matakumu. We have quite a lot that we are working on as Botswana tourism, as far as heritage sites in the country are concerned, and as far as other tourism products are concerned. I am glad that we are discussing heritage sites at a time when BTO is tasked with diversifying the tourism product in the country very seriously, because that is an issue or subject that has been burning for quite some time. Now, fortunately, we are at a point where we have a strategy in place that explicitly pronounces that. We've observed a trend, fortunately, over the past few years, of an emerging global market of responsible tourists, where there's a paradigm shift, a bit of a paradigm shift from the more intense activities that are predominantly destructive to the environment, to a market that is more inclined towards sustainable activities. Heritage tourism falls within that bracket of sustainable tourism. It's a product under sustainable tourism. It's a component of sustainable tourism. So as we explore the development of heritage sites, it falls well within our mandate to enhance the activities around these sites that can attract tourists, or even keep the tourists who are already attracted to the sites. And where possible, B2 also provides funding for the development of some of the identified programs and some of the identified developments that are meant to enhance these heritage sites. We are guided by the framework that has been set by Department of National Museum and Monuments. We have already done the Greater Francistown Heritage Trail. For us, it's always best to work by packaging your products into circuits. There is no site that you can sell in isolation. we sell destinations, and a destination is a combination of different tourism products. You'll have your heritage sites, you'll have your recreational activities, you'll have your leisure developments. You know, in Francistown right now, all these products contribute towards making Francistown and Greater Francistown a destination.
So, Mr. Ompile, as a lecturer at BAC, I understand you guys have a course that is related to tourism, tourism and hospitality. So, what are you guys doing to mold the students to start appreciating the heritage sector instead of what is well known, flora and fauna or wilderness safari?
Thank you so much. You know, working with the students, they always come with what they know, but you always have to help them to understand. Because, like he was saying, we are trying to move from the traditional tourism that we know, which is normally focusing on the flora and the fauna and wilderness. And we are also trying to teach them the contemporary trends and the current issues that are now surfacing, that now the tourists are trying to be responsible. Now, in being responsible, they think of areas that they're going to visit. They think about how the resources are being used around that area. The resources being used in a way that even the future generations will be able to use the same resources. And we are trying to show our students the very same thing, to say, if we are not going to be responsible with our tourism products at this time, then the people who are going to be coming after you, will they be able to see the same things that you are seeing now? If not, then it means the tourism industry is dying. And if it's dying, then tourism is not a small thing. It's one of the major contributors to the economy. And if it dies, then it means the economy will also go low. So this is what we are trying to do with our students. And we even try by all means to involve them in issues like this. We have worked with Sawane and the others to try and show the students some of the things that they didn't know.
So then we'll now start seeing more of your students coming to the museum to learn more about the heritage, because I feel it's very important that, you know, from a young age, you know, as a student, you get to also appreciate your heritage and, you know, be proud of your heritage, that, you know, who I am can also sell, you know, the way I present myself, my culture, you know, it's something that I can, you know, make money out of. So, Miss Saone, as a tour guide, what are the tourists saying when you take them into our heritage sites? Are they appreciating them?
Yes, they do appreciate the beauty that they have seen in our second city, Francistown, because most of them, they were not aware that we have such beautiful heritage sites. But because of the love that I have for my city, I went to the National Museum office at Nsa House. I remember it was last year, because like you were saying, I'm an actor, TV and stage. And then I just wanted to see how we can bond together the performing arts and the tourism sector. I started first by the cleaning campaign, cleaning the heritage sites so that people, when they see them, they're clean. Because what I've noticed that some of this heritage sites, they need to be clean each and every time. They need to be maintained. We need the signage like Marna Yakana Buahonoho. So those are some of the things Sekilankana has and see what can I do. And then I wanted to link Budirahat Lebo Journal. When these people come to our city, are they only going to see the same Edward Square here? So what are we doing as artists, as creatives? What can we do so that we can make sure that this heritage sites are marketed out there? So and then I came up with the strategy of linking the performing arts and the heritage sites to make a play out of it, so that when people look at the play, they can tell a story. Because back in the days, we used to use play or theater to sell tourism, like you were saying, the wilderness. But now it's high time that we take the heritage sites and put it into a play and market it.
So, Mr. Sibuso, maybe is there any projects that you guys are working on right now that are somehow related to the tourism, the heritage sector?
As part of our destination marketing strategies, we host events across the whole country. And most of these events are major, are major selling points for the heritage sites that we have. So I'll bring it home and just take Makgadi Kgadi Epic, for instance. Just yes, that is one of our national events. We do Kawa Student Challenge and Cultural Festival in partnership with MySec. We do Makgadi Kgadi Epic in partnership with Parachute Association of Botswana. Because you realize that everywhere we go, we try to package products so that we don't focus on one thing. That's why even in most of these events, we have technical partners who are handling the other products. So with Makgadi Kgadi Epic, this year, for the first time this year, we had a pretty tour of sites around Makgadi Kgadi, which the event is meant to sell. Because the event is like a promotion of the destination. So the message we try to send out there this year is when we do events, we are doing events for destination marketing. So let us show you the destination, interesting areas of the destination before we get to the event itself.
I think it's hard time as museum specialist or archaeologist that we must look into. We have Botswana or even in Kalanga songs and that carry or spiritual meaning that we need to maybe enlist into the UNESCO to increase our I know right now we have only 2 World Heritage Sites. So where is that thing where we have to put in now or look at the intangible heritage? I feel like we have neglected it a bit now. We are more into the tangible or what we see, but we have, like for example, the Baswara and their medicinal or spiritual dances, and I think the Kalangas also have it. Even some Tswana tribes also have that. So we need to start now applying and putting those things into the UNESCO World Heritage UNESCO list. Let me just say that. I understand I once heard somewhere that the Bakata are in listing their traditional songs or and all those things. So I feel like we need to now also include the intangible, like you were saying, and not only the tangible, what we see. Anyway, thank you very much, gentlemen. I think this is for the day. Thank you for your contribution. We are standing here at this magnificent site made by the Wenela. Wenela is Witwatersrand Native Labor Association. This hangar, in 1952, the Wenela Air Services operated daily flights from here to Nyasaland, to Angola, and to Maung. And so this site, which was an airport, was one of the first airport in Botswana, one of the greatest and one of the biggest in Africa, that transported about 1.8 million passengers over a distance of 2 billion kilometers. So the Witwatersrand Native Labor Association created this hangar, which stored a fleet of the aircraft, first the Dakotas and the Skymasters, which were housed here. Even the famous the Datlas D-10 that crashed in 1974 was housed here. So the Wenela company we are proud of it. This is our heritage. So with that being said, I want to say thank you to Wenela for leaving such a beautiful site for us and for our children's children. with that being said, thank you very much. We are standing here at the Riverside Cemetery. This is the site where the victims of the August 1974 Wenela plane crash are buried. So this graveyard here are people mainly from Malawi. About 87 people in that died in that plane crash. About 4 Botswana, but Botswana are not buried here. So just this site alone, it's the graveyard for the Malawians. Remember I said the Wenela was responsible for taking or recruiting miners from across the southern Africa and transporting them via Francistown to work in the mines in South Africa. So this is the site of the plane crash that happened in August of 1974. We are standing here at the graveside of Mr. Philip Matante. Mr. Matante was born in 1912. He was born in Sorowe. He's one of the political figures in Botswana. Mr. Peter Matante, briefly, can you just tell us about your father, your late father?
Rematante was born in Sorowe, but he grew up in South Africa. His parents worked in the mines in South Africa. Way in 1962, he went to represent the Botswana People's Party at the United Nations for independence of Botswana. Well, later on, as we all know, Botswana became independent in 1966, where he became the first leader of opposition and the first member of parliament for Francistown. Botswana Defence Force, the Botswana Pula, and several other, he came up with it.
Oh.
Yeah, it was all his idea. Yeah.
So his political, he started his political movement in Francistown.
In South Africa.
Oh, in South Africa.
Yeah,
Yes,
but
yes.
the Botswana People's Party in Francistown. Yeah.
So Botswana People's Party, this is the home of Botswana People's Party.
Botswana People's Party was founded in Francistown, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Mr. Matante. We are very much grateful for the impact that your father made, and we'll forever honor him and celebrate him as one of our political figure and as a father as well.
Yeah.
So we are very much grateful for that. May his soul rest in peace. So maybe if I may just ask you, are you actively into politics as well?
No.
Okay. We are standing here at the old jail, National Monument. This is the first jail in Francistown during the colonial era. So the jail was strategically placed to closer to the police and the high court, so that once proceedings are done that side, the prisoners won't have to travel long distances, so they can just quickly come and be locked up here. So the story behind this jail is that it gives out the first instances of racial discrimination in Botswana. On my right here we have these 2 cells that were used by to incarcerate people of European descent, and then the other side they were used to keep natives, the natives. So you can see the story of racial discrimination in there, that white people were not supposed to mix up with the natives. So mainly people who were incarcerated here were people who have committed mainly crimes such as overindulgence in alcohol. So once you have indulged too much of alcohol, you were captured by the state and then put here. So we are just going to go inside and move through as I'll be showing you what's going to be happening inside. We have different compartments, different cells, we have offices as well. So as we move inside, you will see all that I'm talking about. So the prisoners were brought in here before going into their separate cells. And I want you to see something very, if you look at the walls here, are made of, this is clay. You can tell that this is clay. It's not cement. So the walls were made of clay, and as we move, now we are going to enter into cells that were meant for the natives. When you are chained here, there's nowhere you can go. You are here forever until they unlock you. And then look at the metal here, tough iron. So this was cell number 1 for the natives. And then this is cell number 3. So the natives were allowed to freely move. And then as we go this side, this is the other cell. You know, as I'm standing here, I'm trying to think how life was for the prisoners at that time. You know, looking outside, wondering when that time will come to go outside and socialize with their loved ones. I feel like a prisoner. So right here was the toilet. So what happened is that you put a bucket underneath. The old toilet. So basically that's it about the old jail national monument. The first, like I said, the first jail in Francistown. This is the place. This is our heritage. We are proud of it, and quite recently we are planning also to revive this place and make it more of a permanent exhibition.
Tindalo dogugo butewukile pasi disozoloke muguli ade diso aditi pina lona se male meswa one more time, let's go. Ntuangu hey antikulinga ndote seni senga nondi hata undi tebula cha ntuangu hey antikulinga ndotebuka hey senka kawakawizwa.
My name is Sanu Bigitane. I'll be the director of ceremony for this beautiful event that is hosted here today by Supangwa Museum in collaboration with the US Embassy. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are here to come and launch our documentary that is going to talk about Francistown, who we are, and where we will be going as Francistown.
It is a great pleasure for us to be here at Supangwa for the 3rd time in a city contributing to Botswana's diverse cultural heritage. Excited that the fruits of the US Embassy's earlier support through the Ambassador's Fund for Cultural Preservation of Supangwa 5 years ago, with nearly $40,000 US, the museum was able to preserve and protect priceless ethnic and historical collections. Through the Ambassador's Fund for Cultural Preservation, the US government empowers Botswana to share stories of cultural heritage and values, to increase community capacity, to document and share these stories, to strengthen US-Botswana cooperation on architectural and objects conservation projects of mutual benefit, and to preserve cultural heritage as a documentation of US respect for other cultures. This year, the US Department of State celebrates 20 years of successful implementation of over 1,000 of these projects in 133 countries and 650 communities around the world. 7 of these projects have brought nearly $300,000 to Botswana to restore and preserve historic sites. It is a privilege to join you, together with US government colleagues who are also back in Gaborone, local dignitaries and stakeholders, educators and students to launch this unique project. I encourage people of Francistown to jump in and support this initiative and help preserve your own heritage, not only for future generations, but for yourself in the present. You may be surprised what you learn about yourself in sharing your own stories, even as you teach the world about Francistown and Botswana. Thank you very much, Supangwao, board staff, the people of Francistown, for the excellent work that you do to preserve your culture. You are leading your community in creating a lasting legacy, and the U.S. Embassy is honored to support you. Without further ado, I would like to declare this project launched. Thank you.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. With me here, I'm joined by three gentlemen. Mr. Ndingo Jua, who is a Kalanga artist. To my immediate left, we have Mr. Monty Muswela, who is a writer at Mukani Action Campaign. And then we have Reverend Mutibi, who's also a writer at Mukani Action Campaign or Society of Writers. Gentlemen, I welcome you. Today the topic that we are going to be tackling is the history of the Bakalanga in Botswana. So maybe I should just start by saying, who are the Bakalanga and where do they come from? Mr. Ndingo.
As a singer, I'm not a historian. Imindomba, but then Mbakwangu, ko lagiza baganko bakadwa niko banwenda. In songs, this is how I translate the history of Bakalanga in a song. So there are people who are historians who are best suited to take the question. Yes.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Sichela se Bakalanga se kana we Bakalanga. Bakalanga baga deluka bidwa ikwenu kwa kabe kudangwan tolo kui Fort Victoria chirengwenu yodangwa kui maswingo ku Zimbabwe Ruins isi di pano takasha dilibaka moyo tituna moyo tate mosila libemula musilikazi ibula bazaka moyo tikana buzebu kuru kulikwazi kupezuke ibele tingwenu tibeti chancha ntupo titi ateti libaka moyo isilibaka chuma tibeti shakwa ataka jono seikoko tatisha kane papa sauno kuna bukalanga gugu centrali kuna bukalanga gugu northeast ngongo no be centrali bagati bisha bagatsibelela kuduvula majambube duvula majambube lentayenkangi ndo papa ka bakakunga na bose papa bati bitwangono bebo palala abipalala ngene bebe doluka bangwe bebisha ipapa pakudume ndika mathangwani bangwe bebisala kugono zibe begono zibe ndiwe wakasala kunwe ngonu ngechivwa mukati marovela ngone kabeli mafungo ngone ngechivwa mote marovela ngobe kwaka bakashashwa kabezwa kusibuwe bangwe bebisha bithela kuphanga bephanga ndiwe abantu bakachizina bangwe ba ka bithibela kumaibe bangwe ba ka nswazi bayipo bangwe be bithibela kututume ikoko ndiko kukele batho baje bangwe ba ka nswazi ba ka chilagwane ngono bangwe ba ka madandume ikwenu ndiko ba kananga sekwa ba ka be yapo mushango hii bakasha bitwa bakadeluka kwabako bitwa bakadeluka bitwa ku Zimbabwe winsi kana Zimbabwe winsi kodwa nyumba zemagwe kana kwedzimba zemagwe ngone sitoti Zimbabwe ngone kuidzimba kudwa ngumba awende kunosvikana nditi kwakabakwa ngumba kwabakwa dzitauro dzinoenda pefuku dzakazivakwa ngemagwe akatizha ngono ivezha navo mambo vizhavo vakakuda votomboshava ivaka ngumba dzakaita zivakwa ngemagwe ngumba dzakavakwa ngemagwe saikoko ngongono todana titi Zimbabwe tibva kuti dzimba dzemagwe ngumba dzemagwe ndoti vakananga vesoka vakazva mushango iyei ngono isi vanonga isi tizhatitibella kucentrali ikoko kwamunotika mangwatu ngono isi vakananga avazhele inonaya nevushegwedu kuzheli
Bakalanga, their history is it's complex. Around 1200 AD, 1220 AD, in the year of our Lord, Anno Domini, that was when the kingdom of Mapungubwe dispersed. And from Mapungubwe, these people went to where the old men started by indicating that the Kalanga people come from Masvingo area. They moved to what is called Masvingo today, around 1400. And there they were headed by Munumutapa. Munumutapa means in Tuntapa, somebody who conquers and takes other people's properties and stuff like that. I know my brother, Mr. Abokara, will agree with me about Munumutapa because he's a history teacher of old. Around 1250 to 1450, they were in Great Zimbabwe. And some of them, the Bakalanga people, went as far as southwestern Zimbabwe, a place called Mosuatunya. They actually called it Hongwe Inotitima, a rock that thunders. Then came the Basutu of Sibitwani, and they called it Mosuatunya. The Kalanga were the first people to be there before the Basutu, and it was promoted as Mosuatunya even today. But there is that Kalanga name is called Hongwe Inotitima. It's a rock that thunders. That is what they called it. And we are talking about these people, some of them went to Kami. You know, there were lots of movements around because of wars and counter wars. There was a time when they lived in Kami, and their headquarters were in Kami. And you go to those buildings, they are similar to the Great Zimbabwe ruins. There's still a question as who built the Great Zimbabwe. Some historians, it is the Shona speaking people, but the Portuguese talk about the Mukaranga when they first arrived. They were the first Europeans to arrive in this area. They traded with the Kalanga leaders in ivory, and they traded with them in ivory and gold. That is why if you go to Mapungubwe, they talk of, what do they say in Mapungubwe? They talk of the golden rhino in Mapungubwe, if I recall well. I'm not going to speak in a chronological fashion because I had not prepared a lesson. So it's just that I just want to give you an overview. But coming down to Botswana, I just wanted to give a background that we come from far, as far back as 1200. Today you go to South Africa, you will find there's a group of people called Bakhalaka. Their remains or their ancestral homes is somewhere around the Kruger National Park. They have their own history. All they remember is that they came from Gaza and then they came to live here. But according to some sources, they probably could have originated from what they call Bohera in Zimbabwe today. Some people call it Bohera when they are in Zimbabwe or even here. They could have originated come from here. But some of them say they come from a place called Chain Mountain in Zimbabwe. But they moved. The Waela came to this place, lived around where they are now, around other places. But they moved to this place, Francistown. They moved to Matiloji and then went back to Dalale Gulu.
I think you have said quite a lot of things, Mr. Muswela, and speaking of how vast the Kalanga kingdom was, I remember in the words of Robert Moffat, he said, I paraphrase, when he came into the Tati concession, he saw a vast country that if he was given a chance, he would put a signboard in the middle written, a country to let. Okay. So, Mr. Uncle Ndingo Jua.
Yes.
So, in your music, though I don't understand Kalanga, what do you mostly sing about?
Hey, you know, when I grew up as a young boy, what I used to do is my grandmother used to brew this ndali kwe now bana ba khona ba ta go na bojalwa, and then after drinking ba to ba na ha sejana ba ita me rupa bana, then I was a young boy ne ke rata go nna go ba le bone ke retsa ka jaka ba tlotla ka teng gore ba tswa kae ba ya go kae ba tswa go kae ba go ta go tsena ho le gone go opela ga bone hela jaka ne ba opela ha o ka retsa sin dipina tse ke di opelang. They're really old songs, traditional songs, but I took them and modernized them so that they can go international, they can be accepted by anybody. Okay. So tota senna ne ke sidira ne ke retsa bana ba go ha ba bua, and I will take a little bit of what I understand there and a little bit of what I understand there, and then put it together and come up with a song. Like what he just said. All it means is that and I was told he really basically I'm a student. Yes.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Taboka.
No, Taboka is.
Piniwe Batalangu, Batalangu. Iwe nyenyezi inapenyelela. Utebe tebe changu, uchibulu changu.
I'm standing here with Mr. Owen Cable. Mr. Cable, how are you?
I'm fine. Yourself, Jeff?
I'm great.
Good, man.
Can you tell us about yourself?
I've been in Francistown since 1989. So I've been here a long time. I've been involved with the museum for the past 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah, and I love Francistown.
All right. So your involvement with the museum, what were you specifically doing?
I'm on the board of trustees.
Oh, okay.
With the museum.
All right. So how was your stay in Francistown? You said you came here in 1980?
89.
89.
I grew up here. Yeah. This is my hometown. I love the city. The city is kind of diverse, but it's very chilled and laid back.
I understand in the museum there's an exhibition that you did. Can you tell us about that?
The exhibition that I did was it had to do with the railways and how the railways was originally set up and how it came through Botswana into Zimbabwe. It was mainly a lot of pictures. What interests me is the locomotives and the construction of the bridges and the railways and that. So that was my input into that.
You came to Francistown in 1989. Where were you from?
I was originally from Zimbabwe.
Okay.
But I was 13 years old or so when I came here.
You grew up through that, seeing Francistown growing, and even today, as it is now. What can you say about back in those days and now? Is there a difference?
When I first came here, there was not very many of the roads were tarred, and so we've seen a lot of the development in and around town. Just driving around, I sometimes say to my children, when I came here, there was nothing here, there was bush here, and now you see there's Nyangabwe Hospital, and so it's developed, really, really nicely.
That's really
but it's still maintained its kind of community atmosphere and vibe, and it's so nice.
Okay. Oh, that's beautiful. I'm standing here next to this magnificent tree, the baobab tree, that was planted by our second president, Sekitumile Johnny Masire, in 1997. So this tree is about 25 years old. It's a baobab tree, scientifically known as Adansonia digitata. Adansonia meaning or referring to a French botanist called Michael Adanson, who first described the baobab tree and worked so extensively in Senegal. So Adansonia, then we have the word digitata from the Latin words digitas, meaning fingers. With that being said, it basically describes the digital composition of the leaflets and the branches. As you can see, they're like fingers. So the leaflets, when you look at them, they're more like fingers, hence digitas. It's a Latin word. So a baobab tree, it's a deciduous tree that can grow up to 5 to 25 meters. So this tree is still young, and carbon dating also indicates that they may live up to be 3,000 years. So in years to come, this tree can grow up to, the stem can grow up to this size. And like I said, it's a deciduous tree. They store water in their big trunk. So the baobab tree, planted by our president, Sekitumile Masire, the legacy that he left behind, and we are so proud of it. We are standing here at Lubengula Avenue. Lubengula is the second and last official king of the Northern Ndebele people. He was the son of Mzilikazi, son of Mashobani, son of Mangete, son of Ngululu, son of Langa. All these are from the Kumalo dynasty that was part of the Zulu kingdom. So during his reign, that was the time that was that we had a lot of turmoil within Southern Africa. First with the Berlin Conference of 1884 to 1885. And we see now the British sending a man or a missionary called John Smith Moffat, who was the son of Robert Moffat. Basically, his son came here and he acted on behalf of the British, mainly to preserve or to guard British interest. The area that we are in right now, Francistown, or the northeast, was called the Tati concession, which was also under Lubengula. So it was part of the Mashona land and the Matebele land. So when we come back, when we come here, now we know that Lubengula did give the rights to mining in the Tati concession to a lot of the British prospectors, one being Sir John Swinburne. And then secondly, we see now Daniel Francis as well coming in, given the right to continue mining in the concession. And even today, with years that followed, we see now the formation or the establishment of the Tati concession and the Tati company. And even to this very day, the Tati company still owns 10% of the land rights in the area. With that being said, Lebengula Street, named after the great man King Lebengula of the Ndebele people. We are standing here at St. Patrick's Church, one of the monuments here in Francistown. Now, the very church that we are standing in here was built in 1937, but the original church was built in 1899. But I'm not alone. We have Mrs. Pinky Malikongwa, who's going to be talking about the history of the church. She's mostly responsible for the church archives.
Go ka simolla o re bolela ka ditso tsa kereke hela jalo ka elo yana o tshwereng archive ya yotlhe ya kereke.
Thank you very much. Since it was built in 1999, as you said, and it got burnt, and it was rebuilt in 1937 with the same plan like this one. By God's grace, 2012, I was a church warden in this church. Myself. That's when I discovered that there are some records in the office where we'll go and see now. And I collected these records, I put them in the boxes. They were left by Father Peter Bloomfield, who was a priest here from 1959 to 1966. Father Peter Bloomfield was putting the church, the Anglican church, through the independence in 1966. So he was organizing the church in the northern region of the country, of the Diocese of Botswana. At that time, when he was there, it was not the Diocese of Botswana, it was under Matebele land. And then Bloomfield was working on all those transitions. And then he's the one who kept the records here from Matebele land. And I collected all of them, and I approached the records. That was 2012, to help me to sort them out, and some of them they were destroyed, and then to reorganize them. So that is a time now that there was a breakdown of the priests, so I got stuck. But I continued to take the records, and I wrote a guideline history, that when you see these records, you will follow the guide, that this is this, this is this, this is this. It's all kept at the records.
We are standing here at the Francistown railway station. Now behind me here is the old locomotive, the old steam locomotive that was used. Now we are here because the city of Francistown, really the economy of the city boomed because of the construction of the railway line. It was Cecil John Rowe's dream to connect Africa from the Cape to Cairo. So in October of 1894, we see the Mahikeng, the Cape to Mahikeng section of the railway line was opened. And then in 1897, we see now the section from Mahikeng to Muchudi was also open. Now, in Francistown, in the same year, in September, we see the railway station reached the township of Manak.
Re hana ke na le ngaka ya setso ka go tsang ka re dinga ka tsa setso ke na le me Spiolo le bana ba gagwe Mpholo le ba le Sengolo me olo ke go pa o re bolelela ka bongaka ba gago le tiro e dirang gone
di tharo tsa dingwe gona nna tsa dingwe ne ke sa di nne re ha ke robetsana go be go te setharo sa gore a ke sone se se dirang sennene ke be re ha ke tsamaya mo nageng be go utlwa ke tshwara ke mala nna hela ha ke re ka kotamana ha ke gadima ko morago ka go bona setharo sone se hela jalo ne go tsamaya hela alo mo go nna go ithalla le gompieno ba mpolelela gore wena ha o tlhokagala wa go tlhokagala o kukile dio tse tsa gago ha o kwa ba di sia ke tsone tso bona le nna ke inetse ke re ka botswerere ga nke ke di latlhelela le nna ga nke le kwa motseng wa me ke botshelo jame ka tsone le ngwana o tsholwang mo motseng wa rona o tsholwa hela yalo le a lwala kana le go pegwa phokgwana kana ke mo teng hela le mmagwe botsetse hela yalo
so do tse di hatse o di tsotlhela ka maina ka dintsi ya
ka ke di itse tso tentata
ke di hilwe ke badimo ke mpho ya gago
badimo ebile gompieno ga di mmogo ga rona ga le gore dithari tsa rona di mmogo dikgetsi di abo di tetse gona di tswala ene di eme gona ke di holosa mo daeneng ke di ba ke di thuthile re rwala dikgetsi tse di kana mme be rala ga Batswana ka tsone re hetsa re bona gore batho ba rona ba re begela ba taba le bante hela ba re bona le rona re kgotswala
wena rra o rutile bongaka ke mang o bona go ntse jang ha o dira bongaka
no na tota mme ke Spiolo ke mme tota hela straight hela from go tsweng bogologolo hela le nna ke setse ke le ngwana ne ke tsamaya le ene thata ke be ke heletsa no ke setse ke bona gore mme nkare wa tshwenyega thata ko studio tse ko di tsewang teng go kgakala ke nna ke epanga ke nna ke epa sengwe le sengwe se se shotang ke nna ke yang go se tsaya ke se tsisa
yaanong o le monana ke itse gore banana ga re kgatlhegele dilo tsa setso thata wena o go tlha ke eng gore o ntse o tswelele o batle go ithuta ebile gape o batle go thusa batho jalo
tota hela straight gone se se nkgotang thata gore le nna tiro e sale ke e berekile nako e telele yaanong tota ke tsa gore ke setse e le yone tiro ya me e ke e dirang ka gore le nna tota ga ke bereke ga ke reng ka gore ke setse ke na le bo 10 years ke ntse ke direla re na di-customerela tse dintsintsi tse e le gore tse dingwe ke tse e le gore di a bo di tswa konte tse dingwe ke tse e le gore bao ba tswa kgakala hela gone mo bo Botswana mo so mme thata gore dithare tse nna ke nna e le gore kore ke a epa thata ke di tsaya kwa helalo ka go harologana hela kore tsone ga kwa di tlhalang go le gongwe hela mmogo yaanong ke goloa ke go nna ke ntse ke di latla kwa le kwa
o ka re bolela go na le tsa eng gone ga le tsa eng
molemo wa BP o ntsa ka BP le sukiri le go hupela mo sa bereke o le mongwe hela tsena e le 4 Itsana ile go nna ka ke rutileng ka teng itsana ile 4 ke gone e kgonang go hodisa go bi a mme ke a ditogololo ba ngata ba itsa ba re ke motho
ke tsosolo sa mme tsosolo sa mme
bofagadi di tie malwetse gote ke tsa gore ya jo tse ke di berekile ke tsa gore di banyana di mo gata gotsa o ba o tse di kota tsa me o bona re go mile ya le go la go tsana na
ya go bogale nyana no me ke setso
straight
ha o ba to ba mo ile gore motho o ka ra bolwa ke se tshwango gone ka ne ra borala ha le sone gape mo o bo hita o bona motho se tshwango gone nya ye wa se kala bo go tsenya skana thata go te ka gore sa ba yewe nnyaya dilo tsa go tsamaya ka shortcut e siame
le ngwana o monnyane wa mala o se re topele ko dikaname bo phekolola go le bo monnepenepe go sa le go bana ga ke tla ke go ala ga o ntse a lota bo tshaba le dibafo tse di ba bana ka bo siela
nyamme ke a itumela thata olo itumela thata tota hela se nka se buang ha ke le leboge gobe le thusa Batswana le merahe e mengwe hela jalo ya ka ntse bua gore ko South Africa ba tla gone ha ba ntse wa ba thusa le ke re ke le leboge tota hela se nka se buang hela ke re bogologolo borra rona mogolo go le go sena dipatela go sena ditleliniki ba ne ba thusiwa ke tsone ditlhare tsa rona go nka sekgwa re ka re this is organic ga gona sepe se se edilweng no added preservatives this is a Tswana pharmacy ga go ke ditlhare tsa rona tsa Setswana tse re di dirisang go ithusa and ke lebogela thata gore o thusa Batswana rra le wena ke a go leboga go le monana o ikeletse go thusa banka wena ke lebogele ntate ha ke le lebogela thata go menagane
We are here today at Jamia Mosque here in Francistown. I'm not alone, I'm with Mr. Saad Ali, who is the chairman of the Muslim Association. Marhaban.
مرحبا to you. Thank you.
كيف حالك؟
بخير الحمد لله. طيب.
أتتكلم إنجليزية؟
نعم.
نعم. Okay. So Mr. Saad here is going to tell us about the history of the Muslim community in Francistown. So maybe I can just hand up to you and tell us more about the Muslims here in Francistown.
Right. Thanks and welcome to everybody, and thanks for the opportunity. The Muslim community in Francistown goes back to before independence of Botswana, before 1966. The early migrants to Francistown were people who were traders. And besides that, as we know that during the gold rush, Francistown was part of the gold rush. So prior to independence, there were a lot of Malawian national Muslims who came into Francistown during that time. And that was the first community that settled in Francistown. Traders, the traders mainly were of Indian origin, and they settled in Francistown. And as the years went on, this community continued to grow. Especially in the 80s, we had a lot of professionals coming in, doctors, teachers, people who were in the Ministry of Health and various other ministries in Botswana, and they were based in Francistown. And that was, you could say, the second migration, where a lot of professionals were coming in, teachers, engineers, etc. And as Botswana grew, economic opportunities increased. Then we find more and more people coming in because of the business opportunities in the late 80s till now currently. So the Muslim community now comes from various backgrounds. African countries, we have doctors from Tanzania, we have engineers from Zambia, we have teachers and doctors from Sudan and Egypt, and then we have a lot of people who are in the business field from the Indo-Pak, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. So the Muslim community in Francistown is quite diverse.
Yeah. I've also seen Somali nationals here.
Yes.
Conducting businesses here.
Yes.
So they're part of...
They're part of the Muslim community here. In Francistown, most of them are based in the Dukwe refugee camp. They came in because of the problem that there was a civil war in Somalia, and because of that they took refuge in Botswana. In the late 90s, 1998 onwards, and they were settled in Dukwe.
Okay.
And for many of them have started small businesses in Francistown, and they have settled in Francistown. But on a weekly basis, they do go back to Dukwe because their families are still settled in the camp, or they are settled in the camp, and they conduct business and you know, all the activities are done in Francistown because that's the closest town. So they are part and parcel of the Muslim community here also.
So how many Muslims are here in Francistown?
In Francistown, we have approximately 700 Muslims.
Okay.
And from amongst them, if we say in families, we have roughly 250 families in Francistown.
Okay. Now tell us about your religion, the Islam religion. I know it's a religion of peace.
Yes.
Can you briefly tell us about that?
About Islam. Yes. As we all know, Islam started in the holy city of Mecca, in present-day Saudi Arabia, and the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was given the message of Islam from God Almighty. And as Islam grew, it spread into North Africa and eastwards towards the Indo-Pak region. And Islam came with the message of peace, that peace with your Creator and peace with humanity. Peace with your Creator, because the meaning of Islam is peace. So peace with your Creator is that your whole life is dedicated to your Lord. So you will be in peace. You have peace with your Creator, and with your fellow human beings, you should be giving the message of peace. So Islam teaches about the oneness of God, that we should worship our Creator, and secondly, we should be good to the people around us.
Oh, beautiful. That's nice. So tell us more about your stay here in Francistown. How do you find your stay here? How are you mingling or living with the natives here? The relationship?
Our stay in Francistown as a Muslim community is excellent. We thrive as a community here because of the peace, of the friendliness of the people, of the native people. Their friendliness and accommodative nature has made us thrive in this town. So our interaction with the indigenous community here goes on many levels. We have on the workspace we are together, in the religious space we are together. In our mosque here, the Jamia Mosque in Francistown, 20% of people who attend here are Botswana, native, and we pray together, we stay together, we stay as brothers. And as Muslims here, we wish that the message of Islam reaches each and every person, so this message of peace goes to everybody.
Wow, that's really beautiful. And I see behind me you have quite a lot of books.
Yes.
About Islam.
Yes.
Have you read all of them?
Most of them.
Most of them.
The Arabic text, I've gone through most of it or all of it, and then obviously here there's some books in English on various topics. So the topics are from obviously I've read each topic, but each of these books, no, not yet. Still going through. It's our library. It's our Islamic library in Francistown, and it's open to all. Whoever feels like he wants to come and read something about Islam or know more about Islam, they're more than welcome to come and come to this library and take benefit from it.
Yes. One last question. You are the chairman of the
Muslim Association in Francistown.
Yes. So how long have you been the chairman?
I've been the chairman only for the last 2 months. Prior to this, it was one of our elders, respected elder, Mr. Iqbal Ibrahim.
Oh, yes.
And he,
Deputy Mayor,
the former deputy mayor of Francistown, and he was the chairman here for almost 30 years.
Wow.
And then he handed it over to the youth that we should continue the legacy.
Okay, guys, that's it. We have come to the conclusion of our Untold Stories, a history and diversity of Francistown. You have seen our city, you have seen our history, you have seen our heritage, and you have seen the diversity in Francistown. You have been to different sites, the Wenela Hangar, the Riverside Cemetery, you've been to Supangwa Museum, and we have been to many other sites that you guys have seen. This is our heritage, and we are proud of it. And like one famous man once said, history is like a compass. It shows us where we are from, but most importantly, it shows us, it directs us to where we are supposed to be. So I would like to encourage you, come visit Francistown, the cultural hub of Botswana, and that's it. That's our history. We are proud of it. You can disagree with history, but you can't change it.